o'clock. Mine says 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Which one of these things are we on? This one
I
right
don't need
here.
to. Once I start, I can't
Go ahead.
stop for those things.
I know, seriously.
3? Okay.
That's me and Pringles. The bigger the can, the more it goes down.
You ever had those gummy nerd clusters?
Aren't they good?
They're
not good
sell
for
them
you.
in a bag like
Said
this
the
big
prayer
for
last time.
Valentine's Day, and I bought 4 bags of them, and I ate 1 bag the first night, and I about got sick.
You got a better stomach than I do.
Oh man, those things, I couldn't stop eating them.
What now? You said the prayer last time. Brian, you want to say it?
If you want me to.
All right, y'all ready?
Ready?
Call this meeting to order. The Effingham County Planning Board meeting of March the 12th, 2024. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. We're going to begin this meeting with a word of prayer. We're going to follow the prayer with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to ask that everyone who can, please stand with us for both. And I'm going to ask Mr. Alan Zipper if he'll open us with prayer.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, be with us tonight as we conduct the business for the Planning Board of Effingham County and its citizens. Watch over our servicemen and women and all our political leaders. And help us to make the right decisions and help those leaders make the right decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Let's see, our agenda. Are there any items we need to add or delete?
Yes, item 5 has been withdrawn.
Item 5 has been withdrawn. Any additional changes?
No, that's,
Call for a motion to approve this agenda with the noted change.
I'll make a motion to approve with the noted change.
To approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mrs. Zipper, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried by all. So that was item 5. E.J. Otkin, if you're here for that item has been withdrawn. Minutes from February 13th, discussion. Call for a motion to approve these minutes.
Make a motion to approve minutes as written.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried by all. So, all items presented tonight will be presented, the next meeting will be the Board of Commissioners meeting. That meeting is April the 2nd, is that correct?
yes.
April 2nd. That meeting's also in this room, 6 o'clock p.m. This board merely gives a recommendation to the county commissioners. Obviously, the commissioners have the final vote. So items that are approved as well as denied will move forward to the commissioners for their consideration. I'd like to ask that everyone who wishes to speak tonight, when the item that you're here for is called, that first we'll give the applicant an opportunity to speak, and then we'll open the floor up to anyone else who wishes to speak. We'd like to ask that everyone please make all comments into the microphone. You come forward to the podium, that you would state your name as well as sign your name for the record. These meetings are being taped, and these ladies are trying to keep up with accurate minutes. So, is there anything further? Item number 1 is a public hearing for Steve Murray, requests a variance from ordinance section 3.38.6 to allow for a reduction in required road frontage for a billboard located on US Highway 80, Zone B2. This is the 1st District. Miss Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant would like to erect a digital billboard. The parcel that you're looking at here does face Highway 80. It also faces Highway 17. The ordinance requires that there be 200 feet of frontage on either a federal or state highway. Unfortunately, what you see here, Highway 17 In the back of this parcel, DOT has restricted access there. So the applicant does not have that needed frontage. So they are requesting the variance. Staff recommends alternative number 1.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Questions or comments at this time?
I guess just a clarification, so the ordinance requires 200 feet of frontage on a singular, because if you add those two up, they do have more than 200,
A singular, yes, sir.
since they're both state routes, that's what I was
I
asking.
got you. All right, is there anyone that wants to speak either in favor or against this request? No further discussion from the board. I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mrs. Zipper. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Item 2 is a public hearing for Skid Steer Solutions LLC as agent for Jack Doyle. Requests approval for a pond less than 1 acre located at 1182 Midland Road. It's the first district. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant is requesting that approval for a pond less than 1 acre. The size of the pond will be 0.99 acres. For this pond, though, the dirt will be moved off-site, which is why they are before you tonight. Staff is recommending alternative number 1.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And I know there were some changes in the code on ponds as far as the road and entrance and all. What is the minimum size?
Let me double check that for you.
Used to be everything that was over an acre, but I believe that changed.
Yes, sir. Let me just double check for you real quick.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak either in favor or against this request? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes,
My
sir.
name's Andrew Atkins. I'm representing Skid Steer Solutions and Mr. Jack Doyle. I want to make a big distinguishment on this too. We do want to remove the dirt, and that's just mainly so there's not a giant eyesore. You know, that's a lot of dirt to come out of there. It's not going to become a 9-to-5 dirt pit 7 days a week. I have 2 dump trucks, and the plan is to just move it off in a timely manner, but, you know, we're going to follow all the
The rules of the pond.
that's correct. Yes, sir. The rules of the pond and the, let's see.
And that was one reason why I asked, just for clarification. I know there were some changes recently in the text.
Yes, sir. And we've made contact with the EPD. They said that they don't want their hands in it if it's under 1.07 acres. So we fit that description. And we've also gone along with some of the things that they've advised us to do as far as the sediment pond and the construction entrance as well, so.
Well, the only issue would be the moving of the dirt off the site, right?
That's correct.
That's the only issue, so.
Yes, sir.
All right, any further questions at this time?
So it's not a variance that we're approving, it's just
It is just the
Approval of-
pond.
Just
Yes,
approval
sir.
of a pond of 1 acre or less because the dirt's moving off the site, which most of the time it probably is. Okay.
Yes,
A lot
sir.
of
And I
times
am
it is.
looking up that code for you. I'm sorry, it's taking.
I mean, as he
a minute.
stated, it used to be an acre or less. You didn't have to go through the state. Over an acre, we required an I-1 zoning. But I think that changed because we were having a lot of discussion about seeing all these industrial dots all over our map everywhere. And so decided to, I think, commissioners and staff worked on changing that to something different.
Yeah, so a pond wouldn't be a mine.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, I was just trying to clarify why
Yeah, no.
they have to be here in the first place from that standpoint, what made it a
Yeah,
public hearing.
you know.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak, either in favor or against? No further discussion from the board. I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, to answer your question, the construction entrance and roadway shall be designed. The roadway shall extend a minimum of 50 feet into, but this does specifically say mine site, so, this would be if it was for the mine.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Item 3 is a public hearing for Keith Blocker. It's EB Miles Property Incorporated, request to rezone .921 of 11.03 acres from AR1 to B3 to allow for subdivision and change of land use located on US Highway 80 West. This is the first district. Ms. Chelsea.
Dave.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Thompson has requested to recuse himself.
Great.
So I need a motion to recuse Ryan.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make a motion to recuse Ryan.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant is proposing to rezone the 9.21 acres of the 11.03 to prepare the parcel for commercial development. The applicant would like to combine part of the parcel with this parcel to have the adequate entrance, as you can see here on the plat. The future land use map does show this parcel as agricultural residential. However, both of these parcels that you see here along Highway 80 are within the projected commercial corridor character area. And I do have, as you can see here, where the red line is on the future land use map. Staff is recommending alternative number 1. This also shows a good representation of how that entrance will be shifted over to.
So what's happening with the remainder of the property? It's 9.21 of 11.03. Is that the balance going to stay in AR1?
So they want to rezone it to B3.
Yeah, my question is, they're rezoning 9.21 acres of the 11.03, so what's gonna happen with the 1.8 acres, I guess?
Stays the same.
Sir, it's gonna stay in AR1? So I guess that's parcel B?
Yes, a building of some sort on
The house up front.
it, yeah.
Questions, comments at this time? Is there anyone who wishes to speak on behalf of this?
Hello, I'm Scott Munson with Thomas and Hutton Engineering Company. I'll represent Mr. Blocker tonight for EB Miles Properties. I do want to make a clarification that the property up front does not have a house on it. It's an existing C-store. It is currently zoned B3. So the property behind it is the rezoning and the recombination to go to B3 as well.
Oh, that's right, 1780, that's right, yeah.
It's an existing what?
C-store, convenience store.
Oh, okay.
1780, right? And what is it, 1780?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. My bad.
And I'm here to answer any questions you
So
might
can
have.
you answer so is that I mean, it's, I guess I'm not seeing the almost 2 acres, because it's to rezone 9.21 of 11.03 acres. So I guess I was just curious where the remainder of the acreage was.
The parcel in the front on what's on the screen now in the blue color is the C-store parcel. It's currently zoned B3. It's a little over 2 acres.
So that's the other part. That makes the 11
That's
acres.
the first part, right. The back part of the parcel is zoned AR1 currently.
It makes this sound like though that it's 9.21 of 11 acres.
Yeah, because it's
AR1 now.
it's AR1. I mean,
But the 2 is already the B3.
It's, the way it's wrote, it just sounds kind of funny.
gotcha.
So when they're done, it's all gonna be.
all gonna be
B3,
B3.
start to finish.
I got you.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And the recombination is necessary to allow for the access road to get from 80 to the back of the property. It'll be a shared access.
Okay.
All right, any further questions at this time? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak either in favor or against this request? No further discussion. I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
A second.
Second, Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Can I get a motion to reinstate Mr. Thompson?
I'll make a motion that we reinstate Mr. Thompson.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Item number 4 is a public hearing for Vincent Helmy as agent for William Earl Barton Jr. and Trita Hodge to rezone plus or minus 2.94 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for subdivision to create new home sites located on Harvey Road. This is the first district. Ms. Chelsea?
Yes, sir. So the applicant would like to subdivide the parcel to divide it into two for 2 separate owners. Because the lot will then continue to be a non-conforming. It is non-conforming right now because they are moving the property lines. We do need to bring it into conformance. These lots will then be, of course, less than 5 acres and therefore need to be rezoned to AR2. This rezoning is consistent with our future land use map as the parcels are projected to be agricultural residential. Staff recommends alternative number 1.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Is there anyone who wishes to speak either in favor or against this request? Sir.
Vince Helmy. We're just, of course, Miss Hodge is here, but this was her and her brother's father's property, Mr. Barton Sr., and of course he passed away, and the two of them have joint tenancy in it, and they want to divide it. Miss Hodge plans to move on the piece. Her brother is just going to hold on for the remaining part for now, and let's say the main purpose is to be able to divide it between 2 heirs. Be glad to answer any questions.
All right, sir. Are there any questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak either in favor or against this request? All right. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
can we move item 8 up next, please? They might have to leave a little early. So can we move item 8 up?
Do I need a motion or anything to do that?
I don't know. If Kim wants
I
one.
mean, if it needed, we can make a motion to amend the agenda.
Amend the agenda?
I'll do it if you want, just
Yeah.
to cover it. I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move item 8 to become
Item 6.
item
Item
6.
Yeah, thank you.
And all other subsequent changes.
All right. I second. All those in favor?
Thank
Any
you, Mr.
opposed?
Chair. Thank you, Ryan.
Item 8, public hearing for Anita Butler as agent for Jack L. Edwards request to rezone 3.11 of 31.58 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for subdivision to create a new home site located on Current Church Road. This is the 3rd district. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant would like to subdivide the 3.11 acres to deed it to a family member. Due to the new acreage falling below the 5-acre threshold, the new parcel will need to be rezoned to AR2. This parcel is consistent, with the future land use map, which has this parcel and surrounding parcels projected with agriculture. And there is your future land use map. Staff recommends alternative number 1.
Questions or comments?
Are there other, AR2 zonings adjacent?
There is your
There
current
should,
zoning
there
map.
should be.
It might be AR1s, but they're.
Yeah, that's the other one. The one on the plan.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, the size is definitely compatible with 3 acres, but
Yeah.
I don't know about the zoning.
I just asked because
Yeah.
it could be subdivided to 5 acres and not need to be rezoned, right? But
Mm-hmm.
just curious.
Any further questions? Is there anyone who wishes to speak either in favor or against this request?
My name's Anita Butler. I'm an agent for my father, Jack Edwards. His health is declining some, and we're doing subdividing some to give to a family member so they can help us on the farm and help to take care of my father since my brother's passed away. So it's basically just kind of give it to a family member to kind of help me to help take care of my dad. So anything consideration would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? In favor or against? All right, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
A second.
Second, all's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Good luck. Item, so,
That'd be item 7
call
now,
it
right?
6. We'll call it 6. It's simpler for my brain. 6 is Simcoe Investment Group LLC as agent for Grace Community Church of Effingham County, Georgia Incorporated. Request to rezone plus or minus 29.6 of 39.94 acres from R1 to PD to allow for a residential development located on Goshen Road, 2nd District. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, so the applicant is proposing to develop an approximate 78-unit detached single-family residential community. Per the plan development text, the proposed development will have a maximum net density of 4 units per acre. The applicant is requesting the following exceptions within that plan development text. The block length, currently Effingham County Code of Ordinance does state that block length shall not exceed 800 feet nor be less than 400 feet. The applicant would like to allow block length up to 2,800 linear feet, excuse me. The other exception being a freestanding sign size, and then minimum road centerline radius requested to be 100 feet. As you can see on your staff report, staff has requested or recommended approval, I'm sorry. However, we do have the following conditions, and I do want to read these out loud just so that they are on the record. Based on similar densities and traffic approved at recent Board of Commissioner meetings, and with comparable traffic improvements being completed before permitting of the subdivision, the suggested start of this subdivision shall be 4th quarter of 2025 or 1st quarter of 2026. A 6-foot wooden privacy fence shall be abutted against the residential subdivision. The traffic impact analysis that is suggested within the PD text shall be submitted to Development Services prior to the final plat approval. A curfew shall also be imposed within the proposed homeowners association for the provided open space amenities from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And per the Effingham County Code of Ordinances, Section 5.15.5.4, a sketch plan shall be required and approved before development. With all of that said, staff does recommend alternative number 1.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there any discussion?
I guess I just question, are there significant changes from when it was submitted previously?
It is similar to what was submitted previously, and the applicant has been working with staff to come up with a resolution to what was submitted, but it is close to what was originally submitted previously.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on behalf of this applicant?
I'm Alec Metzger with EMC Engineering. I'm working with the applicant.
Good evening.
I think the biggest change was during the commissioners' meeting, they had indicated they would be more favorable if the development was pulled away from Goshen Road more. So we basically slid all of the lots, or got rid of lots, about 12 of them. So it pulls it back about 450 plus feet off of Goshen Road. So if you've rode by there, you see the big oak trees out there. Those will be set aside on the church's property. And then there were some additional woods along the front, and those will kind of be set aside. So the road will go basically through the wooded area, and then the lots start just on the other side of those woods to reduce it from being seen from the road. So that was the biggest change. So 78 lots, we used R5 basically as a kind of a guideline. So we meet the setbacks, all of the buffer requirements. The density is going to be less than 4. It's probably around 3.1 units per acre. Open space is more than what's required. We've got 22% open space. We provide parking in the driveway and the garage, also some overflow areas, and landscaping and lawn maintenance will be handled by the HOA since they are smaller lots. That way they'll be more uniform and uniformly maintained. So the side along Paddleford, we do have a 30-foot undisturbed buffer with a privacy fence on the plan. Along Grace Community Church, we have a 25-foot undisturbed buffer and then a 25-foot planted buffer. We're maintaining, won't disturb the large oak trees. We're leaving the area in the front. There'll be a planted buffer in the front. And then what we're talking about is a 30-foot undisturbed buffer along the railroad track. I think that was about it. I would like to address 2 of the conditions. I don't know if you want me to do it now or at some other point. So one of the conditions was a curfew shall be imposed by the homeowners association to provide open space amenities, hours of operations. So I think there was, when we met with the staff, I think that was more in line, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but if the ball fields were lighted and stuff like that, that there could be kids playing at all hours of the night. But the fields are more like a grassed play field. When it gets dark, that they won't be used, or they should be going home. So we would like that condition removed. I don't think it would be something that would be able to be enforced anyway. And then the first condition about the suggested start of the subdivision, I'm not sure if that was just for information or if that was suggested for the developer, but I think it still will kind of coincide. If we're looking at, if we started now, we might get done with the plans and approvals by the end of '24 and start construction maybe in 2025. Then you'd be looking at construction for a year. So you'd be going vertical with houses maybe in 2026, and then a couple of years for full build out. So 28, 29 for build out. So I think that was the intention for it to line up with improvements. I guess y'all can.
Goshen,
Okay.
Hodgeville, I mean, the Parkway was kind of.
So I was just wondering if that's a suggestion. I didn't want it to be something you can't start construction until fourth quarter of whatever. Other than that, that's all I have. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, open it up to the board for questions.
I have a question. It looks to me like, the way I figured, it's 11 houses per usable acre. And you saying it's 3 point something on total acres, but you including wetlands and everything, right?
So the way density is calculated is either basically two ways. Gross density is the total property divided by the number of units. Or net density would be the usable area of the development divided by the number of units. And the way that the county calculates that, I believe, is the gross density is how the regulations read.
So can I interrupt a second? So can you give us how many acres of wetlands and how many acres of usable land?
Let's see, I think I've got it.
Well, on table 2, it shows.
It's
the-
about 25 acres of developed area.
25 acres was 79.
Excuse me.
Ma'am, we'll give you some chance, I promise.
So because of the, the smaller lots, we're able to create bigger, more usable open areas and green space.
What's your lot, Diane? What size are your lots?
They're roughly 36 by 90.
So that was basically what was proposed at the original.
Yes.
And did you reference the R5 standards? That's where I was trying to wrap my head around how that related to R5.
We used the R5s kind of as the guideline. That at the time, that was the newest ordinance that outlined open space and buffers and setbacks and green space and all that. So we kind of use that as a guide. Now, the lot size is smaller than R5, but the other stuff is in line with it. And the density is less than what would be in R5.
Density's less than it would be in R5?
Yeah.
Well, total density, included the wetlands and the ponds and everything else.
And that's the way the county's ordinances read.
Well, I get it, but it's the way I think of it is what land is usable.
Mhm.
And it's 7.02 acres to build on.
No, 25 acres.
How do you get that? Because you're gonna put detached, single-family homes on 7.02 acres.
Because it's more than just a lot that's usable. You've got all the open space set aside as usable space.
That is a summary chart. He's just given this, the acreage that actually is lot, not right of way, not open space. Not road.
Okay.
That's something the PD requires, but, not buffer.
I mean, there's not but 7 acres of land that has homes on it by the chart. 4.5 acres of wetland.
But that is the purpose of having the increased density, is to have larger green space and open areas. So you could spread it out over a bigger area and have the same number of lots, or you could condense it and have more usable space left over.
Did y'all study it ever with R5 standards? See what your yield would have been?
36 by 90.
It would probably be 25 lots or something like that.
And what's the setback on those lots?
So that is the same as so the front setback is 15 feet, side is 7.5, side on the street is 15, and the rear is 25, I believe.
So the house can be 21 foot wide, basically.
Any further discussion at this time?
Well, I just see in the PD text, it proposes 3 parking spaces, off-street parking spaces
Yes, sir.
with a 15 front yard setback. How are we getting 3 cars?
Is this in your package?
All right, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So-
car stretches over the right-of-way line though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, parking is allowed in the right-of-way on every subdivision that's in Effingham County. So what we've done and what is usually done is behind the sidewalk is it is there to the garage. As long as you can park without blocking the sidewalk, then that's what is allowed. There's nothing that says that your car can't be in the
If the
right-of-way.
sidewalk allowed for street trees, the sidewalk will be further back.
So what we got now is pretty typical. So it's a 24-foot roadway, rollover curb and gutter, then a 4-foot grass strip, 4-foot sidewalk.
Working on that, Ryan. Working on that street tree.
Wait, I'm just saying, because it's all hinged on a sidewalk that can
Right.
float inside of a right-of-way line,
Yep.
right?
And the ordinance actually says no permanent structures within the setback or that right-of-way line. So they're actually, we've let people over the years put driveways and sidewalks in the setback.
Yeah, no, I completely understand this driveway need to be in the setback. That's very logical. I was just trying to understand how that worked. Maybe I misinformed on how off-street parking's calculated.
So by the picture, you are going to have a garage?
Yes.
One,
Y'all did have that in your package?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be a garage and then room for 2 cars to park in the driveway. And then an additional, I think 20 or so parking spaces throughout to provide some overflow.
I didn't see that picture you just held up.
We didn't have that.
This one?
Yeah.
You want to pass it around? I thought that one was included, but that's kind of a rendering of sort of what it would look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically taking a townhouse and splitting it,
That's right.
right? I mean, that's the widths,
Yes, similar to that.
yeah.
All right, Mr. Metzger, we may have some questions for you in a moment. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak either? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Leanne
All
Dowry.
right, come on to this microphone, please, ma'am.
before, or are we opposed?
Sir,
Are we still on the speaking for it, or are we on the opposed now?
I would imagine she's opposed, but
I know, but I didn't know if anybody else was for it. I thought that's what you're asking.
it's open.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We got to start.
I'm a resident of the Paddleford subdivision beside it. I'm sure you all remember Mr. Kenny, the attorney that spoke for Paddleford the last time at both this meeting and the commissioners' meeting. He's not available due to illness. He gave me quite a long list of things to talk to. I'm not going to talk about any of them. I'm sorry, you all remember what he said. Nothing has changed, other than they eliminated 12 units in the front, which is all nice when you're driving down Goshen, you're not going to see them. But what about Paddleford and all the 78 remaining units that are going to be jammed right up next to our subdivision? I wanted to stand right here briefly. How far away do you think I am from you right now, feet-wise?
About 20.
20?
Yes, I need you to,
One,
I'm
two,
sorry, you've got to speak
three,
into the microphone.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
We get
So-
it. We get it.
I am maybe 16 feet away from you. That's how far these houses are going to be apart. From me to you. And basically what he said, these are basically townhomes that are being split with an extra wall. They're getting past the townhome rule and calling them residences by splitting them 16 feet. But that's what we're going to have, are townhomes. What can grow in this 16 feet? Can we get grass? Can we get flowers? They're not normal-size homes. They are full-size homes that are 2 stories tall. That's what you're going to see. So the residents of Paddleford that live along that line are going to look out of their back porch that have been nice for many years now. We've been there 30-some years. We're going to be looking at a 2-story home, which according to this guideline says it may be cement sided with all these nice luxuries. But be honest, it's gonna end up being vinyl siding that's gonna fall apart in 5 years, if we're lucky to even have an HOA. Paddleford was beautiful when it was built. It was built by Cleon Lewis. We had supposedly, do you think we had 70-some homes that are on over-acre lots. At the time, they were some of the nicest homes, other than Silverwood in Paddleford. Do you think we could establish an HOA? No. We could not get 70-some people to take over an HOA from Cleon Lewis. So what happened? A lot of people still maintain beautiful homes, are respectful of their property. We have several that look like trash, I'll be honest, because we have no HOA. There are fences, there are metal buildings, there are junk cars. It's horrible. So that's what I'm saying is, even though we're here, all these nice words about the HOA is going to maintain the yard, we got to look. You're going to have 70 homes, 78, 79 homes in a very, very small area that's even less. If you look at that chart up there, look at Paddleford. It goes that long line of the big S shape. It's got, what, 74 homes, 75 homes, I believe. Some lots are a little under an acre each. Some are an acre and a half. You're talking, what did you say, 11 homes per acre right next door to us? That means a large amount of people. Are they going to maintain this subdivision? No.
Mr. Chair, do you want to submit those written comments to us so we can put it in the record? I don't know if they're written down or not, but you can if you want. That's what.
He has them from Kenny. Mine are just off the cuff.
Well, no, but we can take those and submit them in the record. We'd prefer to do that.
His was a lot of the same things he mentioned the last time.
He's very good at verbal expression.
I'm not very good at that verbal expression. I'm good at knowing what. I love my neighborhood. I loved Effingham County. I moved here from West Virginia. I was very proud to live in Effingham. When people in Savannah told me, don't move out there, it's the country, why are you moving out there? I'm like, I love Effingham County. Well, I can be honest with you, I don't love Effingham County anymore. I don't love the traffic. I don't love the subdivisions I'm seeing, the warehouses, but we'll not get into all of that. I'm just trying to preserve a small area of Effingham on Goshen Road. If you look, even the newer subdivisions you all have already approved and started building do not look like this. This is townhomes. What's going to happen when you put that much on? We have ditches on both sides of Paddleford that are overflowing now because of lack of county maintenance. Whole nother subject, but what happens when you clear out all that land? Where's that water go when a hurricane comes through? Is it going to be in our ditch? Is it going to flow into ours? What's going to happen? Who do we call?
Well, they have to engineer it with pipes and ditches and ponds to, I mean, that is part of it. I mean,
So did Paddleford.
Lots changed since Paddleford.
I know, but we still have ditches, water that flows up in our yard every time it rains, and we call the county to come get it, and they say, we can't bring a backhoe in because someone built a fence. Someone put a building in. Again, no HOA, nobody to stop it, so nobody to come say, you have to move your fence so we can clear this ditch.
So
That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the pretty neighborhood that may end up there in a year or 2 years when they build it. I'm worried about what's it going to look like 10 years from now.
I understand. But you do
Chair.
understand that they're proposing a 30-foot buffer. Okay.
And a fence.
And a fence.
Well, a 6-foot, 8-foot fence is going to do nothing for a 2-story house that stares right down in the backyard of many of those people. I can count 4 swimming pools along that railroad track line. Those people will have absolutely no privacy because of the 2-story. The way, and again, it's all because of the usable land for the church. There's a nice big area there, but what can be used? The church doesn't want to let them come and encroach on them, so they're pushing them back to where they encroach on Paddleford. And they're going to be right up next to us, so that's all I have to say. Is
Can you give me the addresses of the junk cars?
I think if you drive through the neighborhood, one person drives through, you can see them. We have called about,
So
this is a whole different
I
subject.
know,
I'd rather
don't-
not
I don't-
talk
I don't
about
wanna
it
get off on
here.
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you have any additional comments on this
No,
development?
I'm
Okay.
good. Like I said, I love my neighborhood. I loved Effingham County. I hope you all will take that into consideration when allowing basically detached townhomes to be built on Goshen Road.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello again. My name is Tara Brantley. I am a resident across the street from the location that they're wishing to develop. As I spoke before, what they are proposing are, as she said, essentially townhouses. Nowhere else in the Goshen area road, except for at the beginning of Goshen, there are approximately 15 townhouses on probably close to 5 acres with about 2 acres of frontage. And this will totally, you have your legacy housing subdivisions that do not have 4 houses per acre. This is something that will totally change the landscape. 30-foot walls, buffers put up are unsightly and not a part of the condition of the entire road, entire area. Nowhere else has 30-foot buffers. Just because it's a convenience for sound doesn't mean that it's aesthetically pleasing. You also have, these are just longhouses, Iroquois-style longhouses. They are totally different from any other subdivision, this type of construction. You also have what you call road improvements, are basically just fixing roads from the problem that the commission and allowing more traffic has created. It's not really improvement. It's a modification because of a necessary need that you created. It's not an improvement. It's what you caused by impacting, these swaths of lands with massive development. And it's going to further erode the area. So I would really ask that you not approve 78 homes in a tiny, tiny area. She is right, it will affect the water table, and I understand that they're plight, they're financially hurt, but then I would make a move elsewhere. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, sir, are you a part of that church?
Negative.
Okay, so, I would ask that this will be absolute deterrent, and totally against everything, all the new construction on either side of the railroad tracks and the new construction that is going on diagonally or right across from this area as well.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Caroline Cheney. I'm the real estate agent representing the church on this deal. We spent multiple weeks, months with the church, making sure they got exactly what they wanted in buffers, making sure the oak trees were protected. Simcoe Investment Group was very understanding with all the needs that the church wanted. The church would really like to use the money to continue doing their work within the county and in the community that they serve. The buffers are there, the natural buffers. It was extremely important to preserve the oak trees, preserve the soccer fields, so that the YMCA could continue to use them, and so that the church can continue having, I believe they've got a counselor in there, different various community groups come out and use the church property, so it's very important that they be able to continue to do that with all the buffers and everything like that.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Medlin. I reside in the Paddlefoot subdivision. My property is directly affected by this unit. My property directly shares a property line with this property. I have, my biggest concern is I have a drainage ditch behind my property that stays with water in it all the time. And when they build these houses in that area, I'm really concerned about the runoff coming in and flooding my property with the runoff. I'm also, the light and the noise pollution that this is gonna cause with that many houses. A 6-foot privacy fence isn't gonna cut it, even with a buffer. I have a nice backyard. I mean, I've worked hard to get a nice backyard in my property, and I have a pool back there, and a two-story townhouse is going to look over, no matter how far back it is, even 30 feet, is still going to be able to see somebody out their back window, be able to see into my backyard. The other thing are, just the issues with privacy. Goshen Road, I mean, most of you, if you live here in Effingham County, have tried to travel Goshen Road. Even with the improvements, I don't think the 3 lanes and adding 78 houses, which probably double that, would be most people usually are 2-income houses and they work. And so that would be double that. So at least, of people on Goshen Road, even with the new improvement of the Gateway Parkway, that's still going to cause tons of traffic on Goshen Road. It's really hard even now to get out of the Paddleford subdivision at, say, like 4:30, between 4:30 and 5 in the afternoon. There's no way to make a left-hand turn hardly out of that subdivision anymore because of traffic. And the more traffic we put on there, the more it's going to cause a problem. And also, directly in the subdivision, that road that comes through Paddleford goes directly to McCall Road. And I'm afraid that that would start being somebody's shortcut where it gets too busy on Goshen, so we try to make a shortcut and, speed through the neighborhood to try to get back over to Golden and McCall, over that way. Then also the big things is every other property around it is zoned R1. All the properties that hit it, all the properties that are across the street from it, they're all R1. The whole thing, except for those townhouses, when you first come down Goshen, that's like the 15 house before Goshen Hills, those are the only townhouses on the road. Everything else is a subdivision that's zoned R1. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Medlin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Randy Shepherd. I live at 119 Paddleford Drive. My property backs up to the ditch line right there where they're proposing to build this subdivision. Just bring up some hot topics that you might not be aware of. The one thing you brought up was the retention pond. These other residents have already told you about the water that we're having standing in our yards and in the ditch line and everything. Our properties are supplied, our waters by a community well. So any of that runoff that goes off in there, if they have a problem with that retention pond, where's it gonna go? And those ditch lines run parallel to our community well. The other part about it is the railroad track, I don't know if you guys are aware, where they're trying to build these homes kind of adjacent, real close to this railroad track. And where I live at, you can feel the railroad track, and I've had structural damage to my house already and still continue with it to this day. And I'm afraid that you gentlemen may have problems with this from the vibration. You got at least on the weekends sometimes or during the week, you can have possibly 4 to 5 trains a day that run down that railroad track. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it could be more. So those are just some hot topics I want to bring up to you. And then adjacent on the other side of that railroad track, we got Long Leaf subdivision that's got 4 homes to an acre. So if they got 70, that's 100. Got 2 cars to a property, that's 140. And now you got another subdivision that's going to go down Goshen Road, very similar to this, to Greenhouse Learning Center across from Goshen Hills subdivision. So now we got another one coming in down there. So if you kind of ruin the property, in my opinion, you've kind of got nice homes like you got Georgia Plantation, and then you got Autumn Woods, which these homes are very nice. A lot of prominent people live in these neighborhoods, and now you got an eyesore stuck right in the middle of them. And those are just some hot topics I want you to be aware of, especially the railroad track and the vibration and the concerns that once these people move in, they might come back over here screaming to you again that their houses are falling apart. So just want you to make you guys aware of that and the water concerns we have there with the retention pond and the runoff.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and very briefly.
Just very briefly. When they spoke before, they said these homes were going to go for around $300,000. They stand to make approximately, if that's the baseline, about $23.4 million. So what I'm saying is this is because they did not change the scope and the amount of houses. This is all about profit making.
Well, we don't factor in what things cost. We don't know what they're paying. We don't know how much they're selling for.
I understand.
This is strictly based on our rules, our ordinances, and what's allowed and what's not allowed.
I understand. I'm just giving you some perspective, though, as well, because they did not modify it from the last time. That's why I brought it up. Another thing, too, with the groundwater, if you're adding that many vehicles, you could have engine oil, things like that, leach into their groundwater, and my groundwater that would affect as well.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there, yes, sir. So just a little quick update. I mean, we've talked about traffic a lot, drainage, the type of homes. I mean, so if we could get any additional information, we would appreciate it. So good evening.
I'm not good at this.
You're fine.
I'm James Medlin. We just moved in like in May. We moved 500 miles to be here because we love this area. And coming from where I'm from, which used to be an area just like this, and it's unlivable now. And I just want to, let you have some of my experience. I'm not saying anything about these people in particular, but companies come in and they build these things. Sometimes they immediately just sell the properties right off to real estate investment companies or whatever. There's a possibility because of the railroad being proximity of the railroad, the houses may not sell very easily, so they'll just sell them to a real estate company and they become rentals. And I'd like that to be a thought. What if these houses are built and they become rentals?
Federal law does not allow us to distinguish between rentals and single-family residential.
Oh, okay. So there's not any.
Nope, nobody's allowed to talk about that in this meeting.
Okay.
So
Didn't know
it's
that. I'm
federal
sorry.
law. That's okay. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I won't mention that. Also, we weren't told about the last time that this came up, but so I watched the YouTube thing on this, and during that, I noticed today too, there's this, I keep hearing that this is going to be, conforming to a different R standard. If it conforms to a different R standard, why not have it under that R standard? Why have it PD if it could be R4 or R3 or R1 or whatever? Why do this unless there's some loophole that could be used there or whatever? I mean, I don't, I'm sorry, I'm the reason.
No, sir, that's, I think that's a valid point. So, thank you, Mr. Medlin. Is there anyone who has any additional information? All right, I'm gonna close public comment. Discussion from the board, staff have anything they wish to add?
Not unless you have any questions, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
I just like to clarify something I said, since it was said multiple times after I said it. These aren't townhouses. I didn't mean to infer that they were townhouses. They're just, this is absolutely something that's being seen throughout, not just in Effingham, as a way to make things a bit more affordable. I mean, there is a big challenge, not just in Effingham, but everywhere to do that. So the reason I ask about what was the difference, because I was curious, right? I do think for the general public, going back from Goshen, preventing what the general public will see from Goshen is a positive for sure. From the standpoint of, I know we're not talking about the sketch plan, but the sketch plan is a requirement. I'm curious a bit about, so the standard that's been proposed is the 30-foot buffer standard, right?
Yes.
But there's significant amount of open space, assuming the plan that they've proposed to us is what is built, is much further than 30 feet in most of the situations to a lot line, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know if that's
And you will see the, on your agenda, you will see their sketch plan later this evening.
right, but I mean, I'm trying to figure out if there's a way, because that's a benefit to one of the positives I see of this plan, because I've heard a lot of people concerned with it being directly adjacent to their lot line. And what I see here proposed, there's literally 3 lots that are within 40 feet of the lot line. The rest of them are significantly further back. So again, if we are to consider it, I'm wondering if there's another condition or something we can do to make sure that any future sketch plan, either tonight or 6 months from now, 6 years from now, remembers that we were appreciative of the fact that there was additional open space along the adjacent neighborhood. And the other question I had, and I know Alec brought up some questions about the conditions. When we say the TIA is before final plat approval, I mean, we really need the TIA as we are approving their subdivision design.
Agreed.
Okay. So if
Are
we,
you gonna, okay.
right, there's
could
no
write
way
that-
to inform the design if
so
we
we
get
could
it
write
that late.
For the audience, TIA is traffic impact analysis, in case you wanted to know what that means.
Sorry about that, I didn't
That's okay.
use the acronym.
Well, what I'm struggling with is the amount of houses on the small amount of usable land that I see. That's what I'm struggling with, to be honest with you.
I understand. I mean, I think this would probably be the narrowest single-family lots that I remember seeing.
I guess I'm struggling with what the gentleman, Mr. Medlin, said last is, I mean, this is a PD, but I don't see, I mean, in my mind, it's a planned development where you have commercial and single family and you have some townhomes or you have some pods of different things. Some different uses where you can get, where, you know, architects and planners and engineers get creative on their design of the way this overall plan development looks, and I think this would be a very good fit for that. But I mean, I can't disagree that, you know, why has this got a PD zoning on it? I mean, it's 20-some acres. My question.
You're saying versus an R5 or?
Versus an R5, which
or
is our
R3.
traditional
Okay,
zoning.
okay, I got you.
Do you have any clarifications for any of these concerns that you've heard?
A couple of real quick. So the reason PD, so the PD does give you flexibility and some design. And you come in and part of the PD document is the zoning where it sets what you can do with the property. So we felt it was better to come before with a PD and show you exactly what we were doing and exactly what we wanted to be approved and exactly what the development was gonna be than to go with an R5 and then come in and ask for R5 with variance and another variance and another variance and another variance. It'd be very confusing, and I didn't feel like it would be very straightforward with the board or the county or the public. So what we wanted to do was say, here's what we're doing, here's the rules we want to apply, and this is why we went with a PD. So we did try with the layout to get as far away from Paddleford subdivision. So on the sketch, we do have almost a 4-acre open space, an undisturbed buffer and a fence. So some of those units are probably, 200 feet away from the property line. Some of them are closer, but that was the idea. I did look quickly at the density. So gross density for the whole piece of property is 2.6 units per acre. That's wetlands and everything. So the net density is 3.1, and that includes all of the upland area that could be developed that we're leaving as part of green space and open space. Somebody had mentioned setbacks being close together. Well, that exists in our the current R5 zoning, it's the same side yard setback. So it could be larger houses with the same exact setback. These are being looked at more. Some have been constructed by our client in Richmond Hill. These are around 1,750 square feet. They be about $300,000 when they sell them.
Mr. Chair, what you see on the screen, that is the proposed sketch plan that they submitted for approval with the rezoning tonight.
All right.
So I think that's all I have, unless you had any other questions.
Any questions from Mr. Metzger? All right, thank you, Mr. Metzger. I mean, I like the sketch. I mean, I like the buffers that they proposed. I mean, you know, I know the residents of Paddleford won't like this, but I mean, could cut this up and sell it to 4 or 5 people, and they come in there and build 2-story homes right on the property line. I mean, you know, when you look at the sketch, there aren't that many homes on that property line. I just can't get past why we're doing the way we're doing it with PD. And I don't want to see this becoming the new trend. It's just my concern.
So in the ordinance rewrite, the PD is being addressed as to more of a traditional planned unit development with requirements for multifamily, single family, and commercial all together, and they all have to meet all the requirements. So that is our intent with the PD.
Which is what it used to be. It was
Which is what it should be everywhere in the world, yeah.
What it's always been.
Yeah. Agreed. So that way the zoning, the R5, the R2s, the R3s, the R1s are traditional enough that you know what the expectation is and the general public knows what the expectation is.
All right. Anything further from the board? Any more discussion? All right. I'll call for a motion. Where we at? Number 6.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion to deny. I can't get past the amount of homes in that tight area for me.
I have a motion. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I have a motion for denial. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Smith. All those in favor of denial? Any opposed to denial? Motion carried by all. Once again, as I said at the beginning of this meeting, this is a recommendation to the county commissioners. They have the final say. They have the final vote.
Mr. Chair, could you ask the applicant before the public leaves if he wants to withdraw the sketch plan or if he wants to keep it on the agenda?
You want to keep it on the agenda? Yeah.
Okay. So the public may want to stay for the sketch plan part.
But the sketch plan is not public comment.
Oh, but they may want to see what it looks like.
That's fine. Fair enough. Item 7, public hearing for Stephen Lanier, request to rezone 1.92 acres from AR1 to AR2 to allow for a non-conforming parcel to be brought into compliance located on Sisters Fair Road. This is the 3rd district. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant is proposing to recombine part of this parcel, and the rest will be subdivided. The parcel being below the 5-acre threshold, and the property lines being shifted will need to bring the parcel into zoning conformance. So what you see here, you can see that this road, and hopefully my cursor here doesn't change the slide. This road here does split this parcel. As you can see, they share the same map and parcel number. So this part of the parcel will be recombined with this larger piece here. And so this then needs to be rezoned to AR2, which is why this 1-acre parcel is being rezoned, while this will remain AR1 and then recombined with this larger piece. So staff is recommending alternative number 1.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Questions from the board? All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak either in favor or against? Nothing. I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it with staff recommendations.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Thompson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Thank you, Mr. Lanier. Item number 9 is a public hearing. Sue Anderson is agent for SB Homes LLC, requests to rezone 5.272 acres from AR1 to R1 to allow for an addition to residential lots located on Old Louisville Road, 3rd District. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. So the applicant is requesting to rezone to AR1 as the parcels to the west the applicant owns is zoned R1, and these parcels are surrounded by R1. Excuse me. The rezoning will be consistent with the future land use map, which projects these parcels to be agricultural residential. I'm sorry, I can't speak tonight. This is a good map that kind of shows that surrounding. So the pink there is the R1. The green island in the center is what they are asking to rezone to R1 for that future residential lots. Staff is recommending
Where is it?
The light green?
the light green. Yes, sir, right here. I'm sorry. These two lots here. Staff is recommending alternative number 1.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Questions from the board? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this request?
Hi, I'm Sue Anderson. I represent SB Homes. And again, we're just trying to get it all conformed. He bought the 35 acres behind it a few years ago. It was already R1, and then the parcel next to it's R1.
So this is the hayfield?
Mm-hmm.
So he owns the property to the rear from,
On 119, and
Yeah, okay, I see it
Yeah.
now.
he bought that a few years ago, and then he just acquired this almost 6 acres. So we can do some kind of entrance off Old Louisville for all of it. He's the builder that built the last 35 homes in Honeybridge. I've represented him for years. He builds a really nice house.
So track 1 is 6.9 acres and track 2 is 5.72 acres? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, and then the 35 or 34 or something in the back.
it's already zoned.
It's already zoned.
But is track 1 already zoned?
Yeah, track
It's
one
for
and track
both,
two.
the 2 tracks are like 3
These
something. He bought them that way, but it's total of almost 6 acres, the
Yes,
5.272.
5.272
Those 2, there's
total.
2.
Are you looking at the map I'm looking at, the Glisson survey? I mean, it says track 1 is 6.9 and track 2 is 5.2.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
But the 6.9 by this other map is not zoned. I mean, it's zoned.
It's
Arrow.
supposed to be for
It's
for
zoned AR1.
both of them, 27 and 27A.
Yes, it should be for both parcels, not just one of them.
But on the application, it's a rezoning
I
for.
did 2 applications. We did 2, I think, one for one parcel and one for because it was 2 parcels. I think it was, doesn't it say on there 27, parcel 27A and 27?
It does.
It does say for
Yeah.
both.
Acreage listed for the other parcel in there.
Oh,
Yeah, they just don't have the 6.9.
Right.
listed.
That's not on the agenda, yeah.
but the parcels, map parcels are,
Yeah.
Map
Right.
parcels
That's
are
right.
correct.
Okay.
both got
Yes.
noticed appropriately, and so,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. I'm sorry, I was just
no,
confused
I
with
can
the.
see,
with
I
the-
didn't-
No,
I
you're-
never read the acreage
Okay.
description and realized, I can see why you are confused on that.
Good catch,
You are
Dave.
fine. Yes, it is for both parcels and for the total amount of both.
Right.
All right, well, sorry about that. Any questions, further questions?
That mean we're gonna have to postpone this till next month?
No, it was properly advertised for both.
Leave her alone, Brad. Anyone else wish to speak? You do? I got one. Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
My name's Brandon Deason.
Hey, Brandon.
As y'all can tell, this was all messed up. The public zoning only called for 5 acres to be rezoned. So I figure that's something that needs to be brought to attention. The signs that were actually on the side of the road only called for 5 acres, the 5.272. As you mentioned, it's for them putting in a road for a subdivision. I think that needs to be considered as to where they bring that road in on Old Louisville, as it causes a lot of traffic back up right there. And once they get something for the subdivision, I would like to see some drainage. Thanks, I do own the property behind it.
Yes, sir. So as they did state, I mean, it does say map number 272, parcel number 27 and 27A. So that does take into both these parcels. And since this is just a rezoning, which is taking it from an agricultural to an R1, which will only allow for stick-built homes. The next step, I mean, will be if he does choose to develop it or build homes or cut it up, you know, that's where the next step will be, how it's designed. He will be required for drainage and everything else. But basically this step is it acceptable for this to be rezoned to a stick-built home type zoning? Right. Is the question tonight.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, Kimberly puts out the signs, and she says there are 2 signs out there. You only saw one though, right?
There's 2 signs, but they both only say 5.272.
Okay, so they don't say the difference in the
They
acreage
don't.
between
They
it.
both
Okay.
have the same acreage on the signs.
All right. Any further questions?
Mr. Chair,
Thank, ma'am.
if I may, to answer the gentleman's question, they
Mr.
will,
Deason, would you come back?
they will have to, as well go through, as you'll, if you stay for the rest of the meeting, as you'll see, the sketch plan process. So, if they do decide to turn this into, a subdivision, they will have to go through that process. So you'll also get notification for that. I'm sorry, you won't, but they will have to go through that process, so you will see that too.
Yeah, they'll have a sketch coming up in
Yes,
just a
thank
minute.
you.
Okay.
So,
All right,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Mr. Deason. Is there anyone else to speak, either in favor or against? Discussion from the board, call for a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I know, you love it when I say that. So, besides the newspaper article where we are required by law to put it in a newspaper record, the signs are also the requirement of law. The notification of property owners is something we do as a courtesy. If the sign says 5 acres and it's 6.92, either we rezone 5 acres or we need to delay it until the signs are correct. Now, that's my opinion. You can do what you want with it.
Signs did their job, they got here.
No, that, well,
False advertising.
yes, well, state regulation.
Yeah, if the signs were up as a courtesy, where, you know, hey, there's gonna be, you know, something at the planning board, that's different, but that is one of our requirements by state laws to advertise.
The acreage has to be on it.
It does, yes,
There's a lot of
sir.
things that gotta be on it, but that's one of them, yeah. So, I mean, you can, you know, table it until we get out there and correct the signs, or however you wanna do it.
Well, which one got noticed correctly? We can
Sir?
still act- we can
Neither
still act
one.
on
Neither one.
Neither one got.
They both say 5 acres on the sign, don't they? Yeah, they both say 5 acres.
But one of them's right,
Okay,
one parcel.
okay, my bad. That's right. I thought one said 6 and one said 7, okay.
It's 5 point.
Yeah, 5.272, and the other one's 6.982.
Does it say 5.272 or just 5? Okay, so one of them is right, yeah. Yeah, thank you, sorry. So you can do one parcel.
So basically, we can vote on this, just like it's written, legally. But we can't vote on the 6th point because it's not been advertised or anything else.
That's correct.
This is right.
Yep, you got it. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
The way the agenda item's written.
Yeah. And the way the sign's written. So, I
Well,
mean,
it's just the agenda item still references both parcels, so we gotta figure out which one's the 5.272. Reference the correct one.
The one next to 119 is the 6.982, and the
Yeah.
one behind it.
which one's 27A and which one's 27?
Oh, I don't know that.
That's where I was going.
I got you.
The
bigger
bigger
one?
one's 6 acre one?
From here, the one to the north is,
All right.
so it looks to me like the one to the north is a 5.27.
Graphically, it does.
Follow what I'm saying?
The smaller one?
That would be my guess. I didn't want to say that.
Is which, is what?
The one to the north,
Is what?
the 5.27,
Is which one?
is the legal one.
Is that 27 or 27A?
Yeah. She might know more than me. Chelsea. It's what? The 5 is the A.
The 5 is the A. Okay,
Yep.
so we're not
Thank
here in
you.
27. Thank you, Miss Kimberly. A lot.
Yeah.
Do we want to ask her if she wants us to?
Is it A smaller? So, Ms. Anderson, I mean, I assume you would want us to proceed with this and then as soon as possible fix the mistake?
And as soon as possible, is that 2 more months? I mean, next month?
Could you come back to the podium real quick and we'll talk through? So, can somebody give her the timeline for fixing this problem?
Kimberly, I need to know exactly how your ad stated so that we know if we need to. I need to know how the ad.
Yeah, so that,
The ad ran just like the agenda.
yeah.
It did.
So the sign, I think, Mr. Chair, Ms. Anderson, for the April 9th.
So how about this? How about there will be a discussion with you as soon as possible after this meeting. We can also have a special call meeting if we need to, since this is on our behalf.
Okay, that's fine.
And-
I'll talk to him. I mean, it might be fine, but
Okay. All right, sorry.
it's okay.
As long
It
as you get it
happens.
right.
Good catch, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, me and my big mouth. All right, I need a motion on this item, which is parcel 27A, the 5.272 acres, to rezone it from AR1 to R1.
All right, I'll take a shot at it. I'll make a motion to approve the 27A, which is 5.272 acres, with staff recommendation.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Ms. Thompson, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. Sorry about all the confusion. Item 10, Brooke Autry is agent for Yang Rong Liu. Request to rezone 8.6 acres from AR1 to B1 to allow for commercial business opportunities located at 2497 Highway 21 South, 5th District. Ms. Chelsea.
Yes, sir. The applicant is requesting to rezone the 8.6 acres to B1 to allow for commercial business opportunities. Per the Effingham County Code of Ordinances, the table of permitted uses, within your staff report, I did put what is allowed per that table of permitted uses. The future land use map does have this parcel projected as agricultural residential. Highway 21, however, is a commercial corridor character area, and staff is recommending alternative number 1.
All right,
And
thank you,
there
ma'am.
is that corridor if you'd like to see it.
Discussion?
So there's no specific use proposed.
There is not at this time. She would just like to rezone it to the B1 for commercial business opportunities.
And how deep's this parcel? Do we know?
I do not know off the top of my head. I do apologize for that, but the applicant is here to
Okay.
answer any
Yeah,
questions.
there may be other questions. That was just the one thing I
Absolutely.
jotted down. I was curious about the depth of the parcel.
All right, good evening.
Hey, I'm Brooke Altree.
All right, ma'am, could you
Hey.
tell us about your plan?
Well, he just wants, I think it's speculative zoning. He just wants to, right now it's residential rented, and he wants to leave his options open. And it goes back, can you see it's kind of an L? Goes kind of deep into the woods.
That's exactly why I was asking.
And I don't know the dimensions.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, if you give me 1 second, I can get you an approximate on that if you'd like.
I mean, the rest of the board may not even care to discuss it. It's just that it is a fairly deep parcel that's deeper than even the across the street commercial zone. 21 is a commercial corridor. I'm not debating, I mean, in my opinion, I'm not debating that. It's just, I wanted to make sure we made a wise decision if we think rezoning the entire piece to commercial is what we need to do.
Give me one. I will. I'll give you that approximate. Hold on 1 second.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Do you have anything further, Ms. Alter?
I don't, just if you have any questions.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak, either in favor or against? Mine, I lost mine. I don't have a clue where we are now. All right, discussion from the board. No discussion, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
I'll second it.
So, Ms. Zipper, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, ball. All right, Mr. Steve, Simcoe Investment Group LLC requests approval for a sketch plan for Goshen Church Tract located at 1094 Goshen Road, Zone R1, proposed zoning PD, 2nd District.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. If Alec would like to come up and explain his sketch plan first, and then I'll go after him.
This will be changed.
Mr. Chair,
Ma'am.
to answer that question before Alec comes up, Ryan, that was about 1,100 feet from the front property line to the back.
Quarter mile. All right, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir, Mr. Metzger.
Alec Metzger with EMC Engineering. So we've discussed a lot of it in the rezoning. Have a sketch plan for single-family residential. Has the required, more than the required open space. It's less than the density that you normally see. We provide buffers and have laid it out where we tried to stay away from adjacent property as much as possible. From the talks we had with commissioners at the meeting previously, we pulled it back, took some units off, and created additional buffer area from Goshen Road where you couldn't see it.
I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, when it comes to the sketch, I mean, you only have really one house that's maybe 40 feet from the neighboring subdivision, correct?
Yeah, and we did a couple of different renditions. So, you know, originally we did have all of the lots pushed up against that property line with a buffer. So every one of them would have had a unit looking into their backyard.
Right.
And so that was done intentionally, was to try to create an open space and a buffer and a fence to get, you know, as much separation and that we could from those residents. Because of the property shape and, you know, a lot of the lots are adjacent to the development, but not necessarily adjacent to a proposed home. So anyway.
Can I ask, the open space area, is it planned to be preserved, or is it gonna be cleared and then just open field area? What is there?
So it's probably gonna be, we have it labeled as a grass play field with a picnic area and a shelter. So it will probably be cleared and grassed and maintained so that it'll be a play area.
the ones behind the big run of lots, not just the area that's right at the big bend in the road, but all of that green, except for the buffer, would be proposed to be cleared?
Probably not all of it, but that biggest area probably would have at least a portion of it cleared to allow for a large grass play area. Maybe it wouldn't all be cleared. It would just really depend on the grading and everything else would be doing.
I mean, that's why I brought it up during the zoning. Actually, to me, it is just 78 lots, so a big open field area that our HOA's got to maintain at some point in the future is going to be I mean, seriously, we shouldn't, in my opinion, force clearing of trees for open space that might be a burden to the community in the future. I would prefer to see as many of the trees stay in that open space as possible, because I think it would help buffer a lot of the concerns. Literally buffer a lot of the concerns.
Right.
Yeah, we got it.
The sketch plan looks great. My only issue is the amount of homes that's there.
Number.
Yeah. I mean, you did a great job turning the houses where they're not looking out the back of the house directly into the other people's lot.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Steve, did you have anything?
I know, the only thing that we were gonna discuss, so we met with, Mr. Metzger about another project, and we thought we'd go ahead and address some of the concerns that you see in the staff report. And the main one that we tried to address was, currently, the subdivision ordinance, talks about a 25-foot buffer from the right-of-way of the railroad tracks all through the county. So, that's not been prominently brought before the attention of some of the subdivisions in the past. But we had talked about it with Mr. Metzger, and since the 30-foot buffer now exists, for, buffering and things that we felt like it wasn't necessary to include the 25 on top of what's already required. And so, being a PD, he really doesn't have to ask, for a variance, because he can just say it's not included.
So it is 30 there?
Along the railroad.
25 or 30, right?
Yeah, we said we'd do 30 along the railroad.
On the railroad, yeah.
So the reason that it's confusing is because it's in two different spots. So there's a spot in the ordinance that says 25-foot buffer from a railroad against residential. Then separately over here in the buffer ordinance, it says 30-foot everywhere. And so what the discussion was, they had indicated you would have a 25-foot buffer and then a 30-foot buffer
On top of it.
and added together. But that's clearly not the intention, or it was just in two different parts of the ordinance. And so what we said, we would just include it in the PD text and say, hey, we're gonna do a 30-foot buffer here. So we wouldn't need a variance because we're saying it in the text.
Yeah, it's in the PD text, right?
So.
Yeah. Now, the other side, it's required to be there based on the buffer ordinance, the 30 feet. And then they've added a fence on top of that.
So we could reduce that down to 20 in a fence, but we were going to leave it 30 in a fence.
That's right. Remember, a fence accounts for 10 feet in the new ordinance, so they did not do that. They left the 30 feet undisturbed and the fence.
Right.
I mean, most places the railroad has, I guess, right of way that's not cleared. So that, is this included in that buffer?
Helps with the
No.
density of it? Yeah.
No, it's
in
not.
addition.
Yeah, the railroad right of way is completely separate. We're not counting that for anything.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? I mean, I like the sketch, but I guess since I voted against the other.
Well, no, but what's the process? Do we?
I don't know.
Can I ask a
Built one like that on Old.
You can ask a question, but this is a sketch plan, so it's not open for public discussion. But because this is, I mean, the sketch plan, he has to check the boxes, and obviously he gets to develop his property the way he so chooses, so.
If it meets the ordinance, right?
If he checks the boxes. I said that first.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
It's a very quick question.
Yes, ma'am, if you want to ask a question, very quickly.
Sorry, thank you. I was just looking, it said proposed roads are shown as 24-foot asphalt. In Paddleford, when we had some issues with people parking cars and motorhomes on the road. I looked up the ordinance. Can anyone remind me what the ordinance is on how wide a roadway has to be to allow parking on one side versus how wide it has to be to allow parking on both sides, or no parking at all? Because Paddleford fell into the ordinance of no parking at all. I believe it was 20 foot wide. Do you
Yeah,
all,
that's all changed since then.
I mean, I just looked it up.
Yeah. So the county
Okay.
engineer can answer that question for us.
Okay, because I was wondering, when we were talking about parking in the sketch plan, what does the 24-foot allow? One side, both sides, neither side?
It's gotta be 26 feet to allow at least one side. I think that's what it says.
24 feet doesn't allow any on-street parking.
No.
That's correct.
So it's 24 feet curb and gutter, and that's for one way in, one way out. That's why we have parking that's in the driveways and the garage, and then also we had shown overflow areas for parking. So no on-street parking is.
So if you'll, yeah, thank you. So if you'll look at the sketch plan, there are lots in the corner by that little purple spot. Excuse me, and then down on the other side in the corner.
Okay.
Those are, as he describes them, as overflow parking, and that's because the size of the road is not gonna allow on-street parking. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not there every day, okay, but that's what the ordinance says.
It's just been an issue in a large subdivision like Powderford.
Right.
I can't imagine what it's gonna be in this.
And we require, as part of that development, we require the signs to go down both sides of the road that say no parking on the road. Yeah. So folks that visit know that there's a no parking requirement.
Go ahead. All right, thanks.
No, I wouldn't mean, I'm just saying that's why I was asking, because I'm, so the fact that we are still discussing this, and I'm looking for a confirmation here, not making a statement. We would be reviewing, the only way we can review this is to assume that the zoning has gone in place, because none of the rest of the site plan meets any current zoning code, correct?
That's why I asked that question. That's correct, yeah.
So, with that understanding that that would be, if the commission went differently than what we recommended, would we recommend approval of a similar sketch plan?
And that's the proper question, yes.
No, because the density's too high. Say that last thing again?
If the commission chooses to
Right.
do differently than what we recommended, right, so it does become a PD,
Yep.
would I recommend them then following, I thought we weren't reviewing sketch plans in the same meeting as the zoning at one point, but would we then would we recommend approval of this sketch plan based off of that zoning that's been presented to us?
I would.
That's the way I've got to look at it, considering we're discussing it.
Okay. All right, then I'll call for a motion.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll make a motion, assuming the commission approves the PD language as it was presented tonight, to approve the PD sketch plan as it is presented tonight. Does that cover it?
There a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Zipper, all's in favor?
No.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-1. And basically what Mr. Thompson's saying, I mean, if the commission decides to go with us and does not rezone it PD, this doesn't matter. It's gone, right? Sketch plan doesn't matter. But if they do, I mean,
There's some benefits to this plan that I think help protect them.
Correct.
That's why I made that motion.
okay.
So if the commissioners vote to approve the rezoning against the recommendation of the planning board, the sketch plan that is associated with that rezoning would already be approved at that meeting. They would still have to approve it again. They could alter it, they can change it, but it would have been approved through this board. So that's what the process is. Yes, ma'am. Is that okay? I mean, okay, it's clear, right?
Yeah, I just, yeah.
Good. You just need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, item number 2 is a sketch plan for Craig Johnson. Request approval for a sketch plan for Stillwell Pines located on Stillwell Road. It's on R1. It's the 4th District. Mr. Steve.
Yes, if Mr. Johnson will come forward, then I'll follow up after him. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Craig Johnson.
Good evening. All right, just tell us about this sketch plan a little bit.
Steve, you want me to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please, sir.
I'll follow up after you explain it.
Okay. So you're gonna rebut me? I can't rebut you?
Not even gonna try.
All right. What this is, we went through a zoning, I guess, a month ago, for conditional use off of Stillwell Road. This is a building a little under 5,000 square feet. It's gonna be used for a wedding venue. It's totally enclosed. So we're dealing with parking. So I had, EMC, draw a sketch plan of a parking lot, and I was saying they can park on the grass. One of the ordinance says that all retail, sales, service, business service, and professional services accessible to the general public having access to a paved street shall be concrete or asphalt. Grass parking is not acceptable surface for vehicles. Even if the site is given exemptions from concrete pavement surfaces, the site must be maintained in a dust-free condition and needs to provide with a surface that can be maintained in a capacity. I guess my questions are, I don't know that if this facility falls under retail, sales, service businesses, or open particularly to the general public. This will be a, come look at it. If it meets your needs, you rent it. So the grass parking thing, and I don't understand the dust-free. I think there is another venue here that had some dust issues, but I think they were passing other homes going into the back part of this property, creating dust.
That's a correct statement, yes.
Okay. So mine is private road right off of Stillwell Road between Webb's and the S-curves.
Be any dust out there?
Sir?
Ain't gonna be any dust out there right now.
Tell me about it. I've been moving mud for 3 days. Every time I get it right, we get about 47 inches of rain. So they're saying grass is not acceptable. I don't want to maintain that much grass, so what I'm proposing is to put a rock base down. I went out there to B&S and looked. They've got a mixture of 57 stones and fines and other rocks that can be put in there and graded. What concerns me as far as a paving or asphalt, a lot of money, but then I've got runoff that I've got to control and get to a retention pond. I don't know which one it is. So basically, other concerns were brought up, and I think, and Steve can attest to it, that some questions were brought up as far as easements, 15-foot vegetated buffers, and they were answered by one of the girls in the office for EMC. The buffers kind of, they talked about along the road, and I'm not commercial, I'm AR1, conditional use. So she, I think, went through, and Steve, did y'all get a copy of this?
Yes.
Okay.
I got it, yeah.
Went through and I think answered everything and outlined where the wetlands are. Now, let me say that this building was built and structured in 2016. So the pole barn was permitted, so all the setbacks from, as far as the ordinances, were approved then before the actual building went up, and it's just evolved over time. And I'm in the short rows now. I'm trying to get out of this heating and air business. I'm tired of attics, and so this is my next venture.
So by your legend over here, I mean, 32 spaces are required. You have 66 provided.
What that means, Dave, is they were looking, the building can hold approximately, we're looking 125.
Right.
Okay, so what Doug was telling me was, you're figuring 4 people per car, but then when you do the 60, you're back to 2 people per car, which is meeting the 125 or so, occupancy.
That's right.
And your handicap is, so you're talking about doing gravel, but your handicap, will that be paved? Rez?
That's concrete. And, okay, they were requiring, and I had, the life, what do you call it, life,
Emergency lighting? Yeah.
Wait,
the
exit
SAP,
signs and all?
the SAP.
Life
Oh,
safety.
Life safety,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, Liz has been out there.
Yes,
right.
yes, Liz went out there and we looked and, it's, so I've got a pad out front. So what, Doug and Alex and them did was draw it so it can tie into that pad. So they're showing a 11-foot, a 5-foot for your dead space in the handicap parking, and then an 8-foot. So I did 8, 8, 8. So a van can pull in either side, and you have your unloading there in the middle, and then it also ties into the pad that I've got poured out front in front of the building. So yes, it is handicap accessible. I think I'll have the only handicap pad in Stillwell, Georgia, but that's all right.
Applies throughout the country.
That's right.
Now, I did have a question on the buffer. I guess they're talking about the adjacent parcel towards Stillwell.
It's yours, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yes. Because they were talking about vegetated buffer there, and that confused me. I said, well, it's mine, and it's 150 feet from there to the next parcel.
So any motion that would come out of the planning board would be a recommendation not to enforce that buffer because it's in dual ownership.
Okay.
You got a problem buffering your own property?
Yeah.
Do you have anything you wish to add?
I'm just going to say that if the parking is suitable, you would just need to make a mention at the sketch plan that it's a variance from the requirements of the ordinance for the paved, but the property that exists would benefit more from absorption than it would from impervious.
Agreed.
Now, not everybody's going to have that advantage. I realize that, but this is a particular property that rock is going to be more suitable than even for his own property that could get some of the runoff from it, you know, that from the asphalt and all that.
I mean, we don't have a lot of event venues, but all of them are gravel.
Yeah, and that's right.
Even the one up here in Springfield.
So the other one, yeah, that's right. And the other one, 1820, it's all gravel as well. Yeah.
And I think that's the dust issue. Okay.
Except for the dusty part that we did get taken care of.
Yeah, they had
Is the driveway or the curb cut or whatever we want to call it on Stillwell Road, is that existing in that location?
Is the driveway?
If you see your sketch plan, see your driveway
yeah.
shoot straight out and hit where it ties into Stillwell?
Yes.
Is that the existing location?
Yes.
And it's the width of a residential driveway, or is it going to be 24 feet wide?
It's
or is it
20,
gonna be widened?
I think they had it sketched in here. I think it was 24 feet. Yes, 2 12-foot gates there at the front. So got plenty of turning. And what I did when I put the pipe in years ago is I flared the end out a little bit.
Right.
So I have had dump trucks in there, concrete trucks in there. A fire truck came in there, not for anything going on. It was a kids had to get together. So yes, it's plenty for anything that the county has that'll need to get in there.
Well, really where I was going to is the turning movements like you said, it's been raining a lot.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take very many to mess that connection point up if it's not paved some point back. So, I mean, I guess that might be the county engineer's job to weigh in on, but I don't know what level we go into. But
You're talking about where the driveway meets the asphalt?
Right, the transition between that.
I've got some rock right there at the end, and I've had probably 30 loads of dirt brought in. And it's held up with the dump trucks, even with the rain we've had the last 2 Fridays, which has been unreal. But and I know there was a question about off to your left. That was misunderstood as an addition. That is going to be a courtyard area. So I have the door there that faces Stillwell Road, I put a little porch area over it, and so I'm confining it with privacy fence. So you'll have a nice outside area, possibly an outside wedding, and then inside for the reception.
Yeah, my main concern was just I've seen how that affects the roads.
Yeah, and I'm planning on putting the rock in the road too. But what I have at the front now was some 57 stone left over from the septic system, which was brand new and approved. To meet the standards for this amount of people, I think it's 450 gallons a day is what it's showing.
Mr. Chair, the county engineer is available for comment if you would like to hear from him.
You want to talk?
You want to earn your money?
All right, come on.
Hey, Jonathan Holm. I would recommend, I guess, just for the entrance of the venue, that it be paved. I'm thinking maybe up to the 30-foot setback. I'm thinking similar to what we've done for RV park potential, just to secure that tie-in point there, and then it can go to gravel from there. Steve, do you have any other comments on that or any other suggestions?
You know what size pipe you got there? 15, 16? 18 maybe? 18? Okay, that's good.
So he's got, that meets code then.
Okay. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay.
But you wanted to go, you would suggest it go back into the property? I was at least thinking to the right-of-way line, right? Because they've got some transition points of stuff that's happening outside in the public right-of-way, which to be definitely needs to be paved. It just seems.
Yeah, I'm open to just going to the right of way. That'd be fine.
So let me clarify with you. You're talking from the road itself to the backside of the pipe?
That's right.
Okay. Would millings, would you be okay with putting asphalt milling there? That pretty much rebonds after the heat if it's packed and rolled. I don't know if I can get anybody in there to asphalt 12 feet of or 15 feet of asphalt. So the millings, they can, you can get them really fine.
Think about that, Alan.
And then it could be rolled in there to not where the transition would be packed. Now, I see what you're saying. Rock over time, I guess, could pack down, and then you have a little hump there at the end. But yeah, as far as like asphalt, I don't know if I'd get any company in there to do a 20-foot little section of asphalt. But the millings, I've used them before, and they do bond back together as asphalt.
Can I recommend maybe a suggestion? This is going to the commissioners.
Yes, sir.
Maybe between now and then, I mean, I just heard a couple names up here for some people, suggestions. Have an idea, and maybe, I mean, for me personally, the black millings and a packer works. But you know, there's options. There's other options out there as well. So, I would suggest, you know, I think we're good on the parking lot and everything else. Just maybe a little more discussion about I guess at the county right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relatively low intensity use, but if it is pouring.
Yes.
For that whole day and you get a bigger event, it could quickly deteriorate there, and that's in the public right of way. I mean, it should be protected. It's the public's.
So,
you want a record company, don't you?
Don't get him out of bed.
I wasn't even listening to y'all anymore. Y'all just talk too much.
So, all right, well.
I'm recommending fiber reinforced concrete with 5-inch rebar.
6 inches thick.
4 inches thick.
Bless your heart.
All right, let's see if we can get this thing to a motion. I'm trying to set a record here. Somebody want to make a motion? Almost 8 o'clock.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion or stipulations?
Do I need to add anything about that curb? It's on the record, right?
It's up to you.
I'm good.
Okay. We have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All's in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried by all. I mean,
That covered his need for the parking. That's what I want to make sure. It's like.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, that covered this legend, right? Which is on the sketch plan. Is that what you're asking?
Just the whole variance to the, I wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Oh, I got you.
That
On the
we were in
buffers
support
and
of his
everything,
idea of
yeah,
not
the
putting.
permeable surface in the parking
I
lot.
just want to make sure that covered that, so.
You're talking about rock.
Okay. Yeah.
12 inches thick.
And I would say yes, so is there anything further? All right.
You wanna talk about something?
Anything further? All right.
Talk about this.
Meeting adjourned. Bring us any